Now, 11 days ago, Gianni Infantino looked set to be re-elected as FIFA's president without an opponent. But then it emerged that he had tried to sell a 20% stake in the World Cup's commercial rights to private investors, some of whom are related to Donald Trump. The price tag, $4.2 billion US. Now he's facing blackmail accusations, a legal letter signed by 18 football executives from around the world, and a revolt from football's biggest confederations. On today's podcast, Billi and I are going to dive deep into how we got here, how this all happened, and why this scandal is not over.
Sam, at TDA, we don't do opinion.
We don't.
We try to be as unbiased as possible. However, every single football fan who I've spoken to, this story elicits a lot of emotions. And so before we explain it, I would like you to declare any biases that you have.
I have a bias towards sport being good and pure.
Okay.
And that's my bias. I'm proud to stand behind that bias. Mm-hmm. You're right. This has really fired up football fans and football administrators, football players from all around the world. And I kind of see it only really going in one direction, but I'm probably getting ahead of us right now.
No, okay. I think that was good transparency.
Yeah.
And I believe we can go forth knowing that that is your bias, which I think is a pretty admirable bias.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, so Gianni Infantino, he is the boss of FIFA.
Yep.
And he was wanting to privatize FIFA.
Privatize the World Cup.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is run by FIFA.
It's run by FIFA as this administrator of the competition. It's a very, very lucrative enterprise and it makes FIFA a lot of money. And what has happened in the last few weeks is that FIFA, through Infantino, has basically proposed setting up a new company under FIFA, and that company would be called FIFA Forward Enterprise. And that company would have basically taken over all the money-making parts of what FIFA does. So the broadcast deals, the sponsorships, the tickets for the men's and women's World Cup. So the rules of the game, you know, what makes an offside and what a captain's challenge looks like, that would all still stay with FIFA. The money-making business parts of it would be split off into this new company.
Because at the moment, FIFA is a not-for-profit?
At the moment, FIFA is a not-for-profit, which doesn't mean they don't make a profit. It just means they're not designed to kind of generate profits that pays investors or executives more and more money. That money would be reinvested into the game. It would be reinvested into facilities around the world. It's been a rough couple of decades for FIFA with serious accusations around blackmailing and fraud and where money actually ends up when, you know, if they make billions of dollars from tickets and sponsorships, where that money actually goes. But yes, in principle, it's this kind of non-profit enterprise.
Right. And Infantino wanted to change that.
Exactly. He wanted to privatize the money-making bits and then sell off a chunk of that because he thinks there's still money on the table. Here's how he explained it.
There is a real commercial value in our game that we are not yet capturing. And unlocking it needs a focused, dedicated business.
So he's basically saying that FIFA and the World Cup could be making a lot more money than it currently is.
Yeah.
And that money could be going to investors.
He's basically saying if we run the bits of FIFA's organisation that make a lot of money as a business, so we raise capital and we bring in a whole bunch of money in that business, we invest in the parts of the business that really make a lot of money, then all of those different assets can make a heap more than they're making right now. But under the current constraints, they can't really do that.
And this was something that has been in the works, and they did have investors that were interested.
Yeah, almost ready to go. I mean, so they kind of were looking to raise about $4.2 billion US. That's about 6 billion Australian dollars. And that was going to be led by a venture capital fund called Thrive Eternal, which is an investment organization tied to Joshua Kushner. And Joshua Kushner is the lead investor in another one called Thrive Capital. Now, Joshua Kushner is the brother of Jared Kushner, who is Donald Trump's son-in-law, Ivanka Trump's husband, and one of the lead negotiators in the Middle East peace process. So very close ties to the White House.
And just to tease it out a little bit more, explain to us why that's an issue, the relationship between the White House and FIFA?
Well, I think it's only really become an issue because of the unique relationship between Infantino and Donald Trump that has evolved in public over the last couple of years in the lead up to the US being one of the 3 host countries just last month for the men's FIFA World Cup. So there's been multiple Oval Office visits. There was a FIFA office placed inside Trump Tower at one point. And FIFA famously made a peace prize. It established this new peace prize that it awarded to Donald Trump in December last year.
And I've got something to add. In terms of why this is a potential issue for the sanctity or integrity of football, what I do remember is in the World Cup that just happened, one of the US players was handed a red card, which meant that they wouldn't be able to play in future games or at least the very next game. And Donald Trump interfered, called up Infantino, the FIFA boss, if I remember correctly, and got that red card overturned, which is interfering in sport, right?
Yeah, it's we don't know 100%. FIFA are denying that was why the red card was overturned. The White House is denying that it, purposefully interfered. It's pretty clear from global reporting that that's what happened. But yes, these sorts of situations could come up more and more if the game was privatized and had investors who wanted to exercise influence over the decisions made on the field. Another example of how the game is being commercialized that could go even further is the hydration breaks, which were part of the World Cup for the first time. So in the middle of each half, there was this hydration break, which is not normal for a football game of normally 2 45-minute halves. One of the big drivers of that was so that there was an extra television commercial break for broadcasters, and that break alone made hundreds of millions of dollars for FIFA because they could sell more ad spots over the course of the World Cup. So it's those sorts of decisions that has raised alarm bells in terms of potential interference from the broader Trump network and also just this kind of presence of investors in a sport that needs to kind of keep its sanctity for all of its global participants.
And the plan to privatize part of the World Cup didn't go down well.
It did not go down well at all. I reckon it's escalated into really one of the biggest FIFA governance crises since probably the organisation awarded Qatar the World Cup, which caused a massive controversy. Now, this opposition has really been led by UEFA. And UEFA is essentially FIFA for Europe. So FIFA is the global body, UEFA is the European body.
So just under FIFA kind of.
Yeah. And so UEFA has come out and said, we do not accept this plan. And so that would be like, if TDA decided to totally change everything about how our newsroom operates, and then you, Billi, as editor-in-chief, said, I don't think this is a good idea. It would be pretty hard for us to keep pushing this forward. So one of the
you wait. The coup is coming.
It's been coming for years. And so basically what that meant was the 55 member nations in UEFA, they agreed to boycott FIFA competitions altogether if this plan was to go ahead. So a World Cup, men or women, without a European nation.
Which they make up a large portion.
Yeah, Spain won the World Cup this year.
I was going to say, especially in the finals.
Yes, it would be not a World Cup without European footballers.
Maybe the Socceroos would have a chance. Can
I
say that?
Sure. They're going to come for you in the comment section, but sure. Well, you're actually wrong because the Australian Football Federation and its parent body, the Asian Football Confederation, they've both rejected it as well.
Right, so Socceroos wouldn't have been there.
So the Asian Football Confederation has rejected it, as have North and Central America and the Caribbean Football Associations. So not a lot of support. 3 of FIFA's 6 regional bodies have said no way.
Hi, I'm Sky, part of the partnerships team here at TDA. You might be surprised to know that every conversation we have with a brand partner is centred around you, our audience. And we're lucky because you're the type of audience brands want to reach, switched on, curious, and engaged people who care about the world around them. We're an independent media company, which is incredible, but that also means we rely on audience growth and commercial partnerships to expand our business. That means more journalists, higher quality production, and news delivered in the way you love it. A very small way to help us grow is by hitting follow or subscribe wherever you're listening to or watching this podcast. And thank you for being part of our brilliant TDA community. You mean more than you might think.
Okay, Sam. So everyone is angry. Am I allowed to say everyone? Is that accurate?
3 of the 6 regional bodies publicly angry, the other 3 privately angry.
Okay. And then Infantino backs down?
Yeah, so last Saturday, Infantino releases a statement through FIFA saying, having listened carefully to all the views, it has become clear that the project has created divisions of a nature that, regardless of the level of support, are no longer in the interest of the objective set out in the first place. So a total back down. It didn't do much to calm everything down though. So we're kind of left with a situation where Infantino has, according to the football world, shown his true colours here, which is that he wants to lead an organisation that becomes more privatised. Now, this has been on top of a whole range of doubts and fears about him as a CEO. He has been in the position for a long time, over 10 years, and the criticisms have not stopped. So I want you to take a listen to the vice president of UEFA. Her name is Laura McAllister, when she was interviewed by The Times in the UK a couple of days ago.
I think we needed to lance that boil of how poorly governed football has been at FIFA level and the kind of egocentrism around the leadership. And this, in many respects, has been the issue, that however you want to call it, the straw that's broken the camel's back.
So pretty scathing criticism of the leadership, egocentric leadership, according to McAllister. She also pointed out in this interview that Infantino, when he was elected as the president of FIFA, he ran on this promise of transparency and that 10 years later, that promise is not being fulfilled, according to many of the world's largest football voices. There's also a really serious allegation being leveled at him from Jordan, the nation in the Middle East. Jordan has basically alleged that Infantino said to them that their support would, quote unquote, go a long way to helping Jordan succeed at a footballing level. So
So Infantino said to Jordan that if they support him, he will basically help them go a long way in World Cup.
We don't really know what go a long way means, but in a court of law that could be interpreted as a bribe or as some sort of way to elicit support. And they are also alleging that FIFA is withholding prize money owed to Jordan on the condition of Jordan's support in a vote for Infantino.
Right.
And FIFA have come out and said that this is untrue and they've denied the allegations. But those are where this story turns from just a bad commercial plan gone wrong, knocked back quite quickly, to some serious criminal allegations of blackmail and bribery.
So one thing I don't fully have my head across yet is the election part of all of this. Because the boss of FIFA, Infantino's role, I mean, you just talked about how at this election in 2016 he campaigned on transparency. Why is it an election process, and is there another election where he could be ousted? So
this is part of what makes FIFA this not-for-profit kind of federation entity rather than a business. Because yes, you're right, you don't elect a CEO. I mean, some public companies would at a board level need a certain, approval from the board to do that. FIFA, though, is much more of a kind of UN setup where every country gets a vote, and that's how they decide where a World Cup can be. And so there's a lot that goes into this vote. There's this extraordinary Congress trigger. It's kind of like a Security Council almost for FIFA. And if 43 of the 211 members ask for this kind of one-off extraordinary meeting, it has to happen. And that's where his leadership could be challenged. So a number of countries have already withdrawn their support for his re-election. UEFA are actively hunting for a new candidate. And that's actually the problem here, is that there's nobody who's put their hand up to run against him. And so there's elections in March next year scheduled to be held in Morocco. And we need to have a public declaration of a challenger by the 18th of November for him to run against somebody. And if there's nobody who puts their hand up by the 18th of November, he will run unopposed.
I would have thought that was a highly coveted role.
It is, but I think it's so tainted now. It's so shrouded in corruption, allegations, power, pressure. I don't think anyone really wants to do it. So I think we will see some people put their hands up. There's been rumors of, presidents of certain countries, football associations putting their hands up, ex-players. But somebody who wants to put their hand up needs to do so knowing it's probably a big rehabilitation task, more so than this exciting opportunity to grow the game.
Could be Messi's.
Should I do it?
Yeah, I was going to say you could do it, or I was going to say it could be Messi's retirement plan.
Unfortunately, we've seen so many examples of people who are good in the football field not particularly good at running what is essentially, a very political organisation. But yes, I think that this is an organisation that is clearly now moving towards a renewal of leadership. And it's very much not over this story, but it's taken a pretty decisive turn for Infantino's leadership.
So in terms of next steps, we wait. I mean, it could happen anytime from now until the 18th of November.
Yeah, the pressure is mounting by the hour.
Yeah, to see if anyone puts their hands up to challenge his leadership.
Yeah, but this is a really interesting story that touches, sport and the economy and a bit of politics and a lot of corruption and not over just yet.
Well, Sam, thank you for taking us through that.
Thank you so much, Billy. Do you want a tidbit?
I do. I was going to say I'll let you know about the coup.
Oh, thanks. Well, what's the process from here in terms of deciding if I can put my hand up? Because I really like sport.
But you like any sport. You could be the leader of any sport.
Yeah.
Any big sporting event and you're there. Okay, but yes.
But the problem though is that if I was to fly Jetstar there, I would now not be able to take all the clothes that I need without paying another fee.
Okay, that you've just gone straight to the tidbit. Today's tidbit is Jetstar has announced changes to its check-in bag policy.
Yeah.
So people will be very familiar, if you have flown Jetstar, with the 7 kilo check. No, did I say check-in before? I meant carry-on.
Yeah.
Did I say
the carry-on limit?
Yes. The 7 kilo carry-on limit.
Yeah.
Familiar.
Yeah.
We have travelled together.
Scales on wheels. They wheel around the scales on the way to you boarding.
Yes. So there is good news and bad news with the changes. The good news is that they are scrapping the existing 7 kilo weight limit.
So you can take your shampoo out of your pocket and put it back into your bag.
What I do is I wear 4 jumpers. That is how I usually get around
I bet they
this.
have never seen that before.
Yeah. It's a really creative thinking. So they've scrapped that.
Yeah.
Great news. Bad news is that you can now only take on baggage that can fit underneath the seat in front of you. If you would like to put something in the overhead storage, you now have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Well, of February next year.
I mean, it's a huge win for soft luggage. The soft luggage community is just pumped. But yeah, you can basically now put a bag. So I was trying to work this out with everyone in the office before. You can put a bag under the seat. So I'm thinking duffel bags.
Duffel? What's that?
Can we just cut up what's a duffel bag? Because I just need to send that to the group chat. Like a soft bag.
Yeah, like a handbag, I'm thinking.
No, Billy, not like a handbag. So like the country road bags you had back in the day?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so like a soft bag. So I'm thinking those can be stuffed under the seat.
Yes. Would you like to know the fee? It is. You have to pay at least $25 extra for an overhead bag on domestic flights. Mm-hmm. For overseas flights, it starts at $39 but goes up to $52 and I think possibly more.
Right. What about people with big feet?
Oh, they don't have as much space.
Yeah.
A great question. We should ask Jetstar. We should wrap this up. All right.
Oh, do you want to do it?
No, you go.
That is all we've got time for on today's episode of The Daily Oz. We'll be back in your headphones for the headlines later today. Until then, have a beautiful day.